Wayland is the new and modern display protocol for Linux, and the problem with Wayland is that it has all of these features. So whenever developers develop a Wayland Compositor, then they enable all of these features, and that's why most Wayland Compositors are bloated. Now, if you know about DWM, which if you don't, then this is Suckless's window manager. It's an X window manager that is super minimal, and it's my favorite window manager out there. So you can just read this. DWM is customized through editing its source code, which makes it extremely fast and secure. Because DWM is customized through editing its source code, it's pointless to make binary packages of it. This keeps the user base small and elitist. This is the reason why I love DWM. And I haven't been able to find a Wayland version of DWM, or at least a Wayland Compositor that sucks less. But now I did. This is called DWL. It's a recreation of DWM in Wayland, and it's awesome. So let me open up a terminal just to show you. You can see how it opens up with these gaps. All of that is a patch. In fact, the bar itself is a patch. The way you work with DWM or DWL is by patching it and editing the source code. So right now, if I go into my folder where I have DWL, which is in here, let's just cd into here, then you can see that it's a whole bunch of C files, and then you edit something like the config.h to change the configuration. It actually doesn't have a configuration file. This is a header file of C, a C header file that you edit to change your configuration. And then once you change your configuration, you go back to your terminal, you run a make and then sudo make install, you recompile it, you exit out of DWM, and then you log into it again. And that's sort of how you use DWM. Now, for a lot of people, this might be kind of annoying, the fact that you have to recompile it every single time. But for minimalist people like me and many others, this is so damn good. And I'm just going to go through my DWL build, and I'm just going to go through why this is the best Wayland Compositor and why everyone should be using it instead of like Sway or Hyperland. So right now, if I go to my patches, the patches is how you add a feature to DWM or DWL. So right now I have some simple patches. The bar here is a patch. On DWM, the bar comes by default. On DWL, it's way more minimalist, I guess, and bar doesn't come by default. So you have this bar here, that's a patch, and I can toggle it, That's something you can do with other Wayland Compositor. Other Wayland Compositors doesn't even come with a bar to start with, and even if you have one, then toggling it, that's not clearly possible. And let's just go back here, and we have some stuff like a patch for very simple functionality, right? You have a patch for gaps, you have a patch for auto start, and you have patch just to make a window start in the center of the screen. And we also have some other patch for a layout, which I'll talk about later. But why do you need these patches for simple stuff that you can add? Well, this is the philosophy of Suckless. Now, DWL is not developed by Suckless, but DWL does follow the philosophy of Suckless. And the Suckless philosophy is just to be minimal, and you can modify it however you want. And there's no bloat in any of the Suckless programs. It's just programs that sucks less, right? And DWL is a Wayland Compositor that sucks less, and it's awesome. So I can do lots of stuff like maybe change my wallpaper. That's using another program called NSXIV. I can change this. I can toggle my bar. I already showed that. And with layouts, you can see how if I open up multiple windows, then it's gonna have this dynamic layout, right? It's not manual or anything. And yeah, you can get this on other Wayland Compositors. It comes by default. But you've got that. You've got stuff like doing the layout, which means your older windows get stacked into the spiral-like thing. You have the monocle layout, which is possibly the best layout out there. So the way the monocle layout works is that if I have a window open, and then I open up, let's say, another window, then I can sort of switch through these, and the focused window will be full screen, right? So this will be full screen, and when I focus the other window, then that's going to be full screen. This is one of my favorite layouts. So let's just go back to the tiling layout, and I can do cool stuff like drag this window, and I can put it back into its place all with key bindings. Of course, I'm dragging with my mouse. And you can change stuff like the colors of the bar. That's pretty easily done. So if I go to my texture here, you can see the colors here. It's in a weird format, but it works. I prefer hex codes, but it only works with this format. Let's say I want to change my font. I just go to this array here. I change my font. And let's say I want to change my commands. I can go here and change lots of my commands. I have some commands preset in here. For example, I have a clipboard picker inside of DWL. That's currently not working because I don't have a clip hist installed. I should probably install that. This is a fresh reinstall of my distro. That's the thing why it's lots of stuff is not installed. You've got some other stuff here like a wallpaper script which I just showed you, and I can change my volume. Now this bar is very easily customizable. In fact, this whole Wayland Compositor itself is actually easier to customize than any of the other ones because it's so minimal and there's no bloat or unnecessary stuff. You just edit some C code, and for most people they don't know C, but you should know at least a little bit of C, right? And no matter what, you should know at least a little bit of C and any sort of programming language. Yeah, for me that's a must to know a little bit of C. And you can just simply edit maybe your key bindings. These key bindings are pretty cool, and that's it. This configuration file is pretty short. And the thing with DWL is that, well, it is easy. One thing that is not easy is patching it. So when you try to patch DWL, sometimes there's gonna be conflicts in this file called dwl.c, and you're gonna have to manually edit this file to remove that patch. Sometimes what I do is just that I create a backup of my build, and if the patch fails, then I just remove that build and I use the backup instead. So that's how you patch DWL. You have to patch it to get lots of functionality like this Fibonacci layout. If I go ahead and press Super O, then that's going to bring me the Fibonacci or dwindle layout that I just showcased. And all of this is in the same exact order. It's just placed in a different position. I don't know if that makes sense, but you need to definitely check this out as well, and this is helpful if you wanna learn C and all that. And I did go back to OBS Studio as my recording because the other tools that I mentioned were not working that good, and this bar is also pretty easily customizable, right? So if I go ahead and edit my DWL starter script, because I have a script to start DWL called startdwl.sh, and let me enter in my password and make sure that I can type my password correctly. There we go. And all the script does is that it sets some variables, right? All of these are like blocks. So there is this thing called DWM blocks on DWM, the X window manager, that allows you to add status icons in here. But with DWL there's no such thing, so you have to add them manually with a script or something like that. So you can add a date, a volume, a battery, and then we just echo all of that in a nice clean format, and then we update this every single second, because obviously if you have the date, then you want to update that every single second. And that's just the while loop, and it's done. And then we pipe that while loop to DWL, and then we add some auto start stuff here. Technically I can add this in the config.h under the auto start array, but this does it a little bit earlier. So I can maybe press Super R to get a fortune. You can see how we have this fortune here. All of that is very cool stuff, right? And let me just remove all of this because we don't need it. And let me set wallpaper. Let's see if that triggers a notification. Oh, it doesn't actually trigger a notification. But that's it for this file, that starter file. And you'll also need to create your own like dwl.desktop file. So if I go into user shaded Wayland sessions, this is where your display manager like ly, stdm, whatever you use, and this is what the display manager looks for. Here I have this desktop entry. The name is obviously DWL. Comments you can add wherever you want. Here is DWM for Wayland, and it's gonna execute that script obviously, and it's gonna be typed application. That's kind of weird. And some other essential programs for DWL that I will be mentioning in this video. Let me set a different wallpaper. This looks kind of ugly, you know. So let's go here. Okay, and the other thing you probably want is a run launcher. So I'm using W menu because it's super similar to D menu. It's basically D menu for Wayland, and the way you customize it is in the W menu command. So if I go to my menu cmd, there should be a menu cmd here in config.h menu cmd. There you can see this array called menu cmd that's gonna execute wmenu-run with all of these options that basically changes the color. And these comments are actually wrong. This is supposed to be swapped. And then we can set our font. Obviously I use fair code. You can set whatever you want to, like JetBrains, so Deja Vu. I think I'm gonna switch to Deja Vu because Deja Vu is a way more better font. Then we have like the clipboard cmd obviously and all of that. And then we execute this in the key bindings here. So you can see how mod key plus p will execute menu cmd, mod key enter will execute terminal cmd, we have a wallpaper cmd, a clipboard cmd, and then of course some Emacs stuff. So you don't really need to set a command like this with an array. You can just do an shcmd and then whatever command you want. So you've got an shcmd for fortune, you send a fortune there. That's what this is, this thing, right? As for notification daemons, the Wayland notification daemon is Marco, but you can use Dunst if you want to. And that's pretty much it for this Wayland Compositor. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye bye.